think bigger, longer, beyond I, me, myself. Growth is your responsibility. That's the importance of having a financial roadmap.
So, good morning, folks. It's a wonderful Friday morning. We are at CCD, and this is an second episode of Thinkly Talks at CCD. And I'm Janay, your host from the personal finance community. And with me today, I have got Irene. So, Irene Fernandez is an ex-journalist, very accomplished journalist in her career. I think she's worked for Wedding Times.
Yes, as the editor.
As the editor of the Wedding Time. I mean, incredible work, no doubt about it. And of course, what I really like about Irene's work is the fluidity of the language, the flow, the way she manages to weave around the concepts, the ideas, especially when it comes to personal finance, and of course, many other hats that she wears. So with that, thank you, Irene, for coming today, for blessing us with your presence. And really, we're looking forward to have a really engaging session with you today.
Thank you for having me at the podcast. Thank you, Thinkly at CCD also. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in the past couple of decades, I think, so I've been working for the last 15 years. You've been working for the last...
Around more or less, yeah.
Incredible. How entire media has changed, how news has changed. Suddenly personal finance has changed. Gone was I think I remember when I started working 15 years ago, mutual funds kya hota tha, we didn't know. I mean, we had to literally go and explain what is a mutual fund, why it is better. And you cut it short to today. Suddenly mutual funds are the hottest thing. The same goes with equity. Of course, stocks has been there since a lot of time. Harshad Mehta and Ketan Pare, I think थोड़ा सा बदनाम भी है उस सारी बातों में. That's okay, चलता है, मतलब part and parcel of the game. But I think personal finance, goal planning, ये सारी चीज़ें बहुत बदल चुकी हैं. And how has it, worked out in the media? I mean, I just want to understand from first is your personal experience and as well as, your experience as a journalist. I mean, when you used to cover all these things and how it has changed. What were you covering before? Abhi kaisa? So just two questions with you.
So just to give you an idea, there has been a dramatic transformation, especially when it comes to personal finances.
Correct.
First of all, largely a lot of the content or the financial advice that was there was tailored mainly towards investors like your HNIs and your NRIs, someone with a financial professional who has the capacity. Today, with media expanding in different formats, speak television, digital, online, social media, however you look at it, information is disseminated in such a way there has been like a democratization of financial investment education. So it reaches as much as the urban population, as much as the rural population. And that you can see in the demographic of investors that have been added into the market and such. And earlier, what used to happen is that a lot more people were concentrated on tips to buy a house or, something the options were very limited, like you said. Knowledge wasn't as much. Today, the markets have expanded also. Diversified investments have come into the picture. So today, when people look at personal finance, they've understood the importance of wealth accumulation, wealth building, there has been a lot more understanding of certain things, like even though you invest in real estate, today you have something like real estate investment trusts,
REITs,
fractional investments that you have like that, While the traditional forms of investing still continue, like your stocks, your real estate, mutual funds, there has been a much more holistic approach towards it. So today, when a person, like, you will hear even Gen Zs today talking about it, earlier it wasn't the case. Like, everyone on the bandwagon, but thanks to social media, thanks to influencers, thanks to the large diaspora of financial investment education tools, whether it's through your news media outlets, it's through YouTube channels and stuff, which is how the progression was. Today we talk of influencers, but earlier it was just your maybe a few master voices in the industry, like could be like a certain brand of newspaper or a magazine that had that kind of voice. But today, no longer are business and finance news media outlets the gatekeepers of this information, the sole gatekeepers. You have this information out across, and that's how I think everyone has begun to view personal finance. It has influenced a lot of people to at least think about it. You may still be in the process of taking a decision, of making a move, but there are a lot more voices educating, and there's a reason for it. This change in consumer behavior, one would largely, and the most obvious, is your pandemic. Where you see the pandemic opened up, has accelerated a lot of things for everyone. It was the time when people got into the work from home mode. There was more time to research, more time to understand. People started saving enough money to probably some amount, maybe, but then the thought of investing came up, and the kind of spurt of digital apps that were there to invest,
Yes.
and cost effective options. I mean, I had my friends who were already there investing on an app, and they were like, why aren't you on it yet? But obviously I was like, let's see how this goes. Like every new trend. So like that way there has been a drastic change. Also, since the last 15 years, you have seen a huge, what do you call it? The middle class has increased, there's increased earnings, increased savings. One cannot even discount the fact of the digital boom. You have fintechs that have come up in the last few years. You have digital banking that has opened avenues across. There has been AI management tools for finances, So today you want real time market economic scenarios, it can be given to you. And you get to make your decisions effectively. And the kind of the digital wallets that have opened up, if you saw during the pandemic, everything shifted drastically onto it. Not just that, like media came into play. When you talk of media, you have to be a little more broad-minded. Like it comes across even through television, advertisements and stuff. So you had at some point even celebrity endorsed ads, like Amitabh Bachchan talking about Paytm, or Amir Khan talking about, phone pay. And today, from your driver, from your rickshaw driver to your vendor, like if you don't have change, you can just, get the QR code out and you're done. I mean, we've reached that stage today, and what, in a matter of 4 years? 4 years ago, who would have thought, like, with the QR code, you could pay anyone and everyone? But that's the kind of transition. Also, the government also has there is, see, to economically progress forward, everyone has to play their role. It just can't be you, me investing. So then there comes support from the government, there comes support from the law fraternity. For example, the government has introduced so many schemes for people to, especially for women, encouraging them to be investors, like the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, that it encourages women to be co-joint owners and stuff. Then you have your the law where women, like in these last 15, if you look at it, 15, 20 years, women were given equal rights to inherit, property along with the male heirs. And in real estate, when you go to see, it's all to do with discounted home loan borrowing rates and stuff like that. You get lower stamp duty charges if you're a woman. So like so many things have been introduced. It's not much, agreed, but it's still a step forward in that direction for everyone to get onto that bandwagon of breaking that roti kapda makan cycle somewhere in that. So I feel like in this manner it has really changed a lot.
And how has been your experience along with it in the last 2 decades of your, understanding of wealth, of your understanding of, you would have gotten to a point where you would have said, yeah, I mean, making this wealth is possible now.
Yes. So what I have understood is a lot of it is dependent on your mindset. Apart from your values, your belief systems, your upbringing, your attitude towards money is derived from all these pillars. How you view it. Are you in that poverty-driven mindset? That it never it's never going to be enough, or are you driven by that whole thing where unless money equates to social status, so I have to have everything branded. So your outlook on life is, unless I travel first class, I have not made it. Unless I have like a branded bag or a branded outfit I'm wearing, I have not, achieved it. So your attitude towards life, your attitude and all of that is reflected through is reflected through these decisions that you make. And being rich and being wealthy are two different things. You can be rich, but that does not necessarily mean you're wealthy. Wealthy, what you consider as wealth is the option of having time, time at your disposal. Having a healthy body is considered like a wealth of its own. Having parents who are alive and healthy, these things can't be quantified. What will you do with all the money that you have? I mean, first of all, you have to ask your question why you want to be wealthy. Why you want to be rich? Why you want to earn 50 CR or 50 lakhs, whatever the deal is. What is your final agenda? Earn and do what? Gain and do what with it? उसका क्या करोगे? रोटी कपड़ा मकान तो हो ही जाएगा. उसके बाद क्या? What do you do after that? And also, see, you have to understand post-independence, we are in that generation that a certain percentage of us have completed that cycle. I'm not saying all, because we still largely, our country is still getting there. Our economic disparity is horrendous, especially in India. So there is no equal distribution of wealth across. Neither do we have an equal or a fair paying wages, for women and men. So it's a long way to go, but we are heading there. We are getting to that point. So I think when the importance is to establish a goal for yourself. You need to have certain goals, financial goals. You need to understand why you want that wealth and what you're going to do with that wealth. Because you're going to die one day. Let's put it out like that. What you're going to do with that? You're not going to carry any of this anywhere. So what happens to what you have? Do you have a larger purpose for it? Do you have a reason for it? Not everyone is into the family system today. Some are single, some want to live an independent life. So even that whole thing of leaving it to inheritors and all could be one part of it. But if you don't intend to have a family, what happens to your wealth after that? You need to think bigger, longer, beyond I, me, myself in all of it. Yeah.
I think it's a very interesting conversation that we are getting to, especially, when you talk about mindset. And come to think about it, when you talk about I, me, myself, isn't it like, we are so narrow-minded in terms of this is an X amount if I make, I have an X amount of status in the society. That is one. Second is when you also talk about the pay gap between women and men. Of course, it's very, like we were just talking behind the scenes, how it's just very natural. It's like, it's just a muscle memory of lately, that it just happens that way. And, the whole thing is the next generation, what I'm seeing is, of course, the Gen Zs and in fact, even our generation, they're breaking through it, breaking those ceilings.
Yes.
Very interesting. I was just talking to a few of the Gen Zers off lately, and I, in these colleges where I go, or to deliver some lectures and all, I always ask them, like, what's the ratio of your top 10 students? It's 99% girls who are coming in the top 10. It's not the guys anymore. So these are the girls who are going to make the big shifts for tomorrow. Yet, my only concern is they're still driven by a mindset where they say ki it'll be our parents, it'll be our fathers who are going to be managing our money. That really hurts me to bits. I don't know, because there's a girl who scores 97, there's a girl who scores 98. For a person like me, it was, I mean, getting a 75 was like my dad used to give me a party. I mean, Arey, you got some marks. It's just strange. I'll also give you one live example. I've just come to think about it. One of my friend, she is a physiotherapist for the athletes of the Olympics. Yet her money is managed by her brother, who couldn't even complete his commerce graduation.
Wow.
How do we tackle this and leveraging media?
So I'll give you keep an open mindset when you listen to this. So first of all, it's our culture, our Indian culture as such, and not just that. Even generally across the globe, women play a very laid back role, a secondary role when it comes to finances. But it's a bit of both. One is your lack of financial literacy. Second is that we do live in a largely male dominated patriarchal society. Largely, okay?
Fair enough.
Yeah, but that being said, we are also in a transition right now. A lot more women are joining the workforce. A lot more women are taking charge of their finances. A lot more women are getting financially literate, to understand the importance of things. So why I say it's a transition, it's happening as we are talking. It has been happening even while these stereotypes do exist in the whole sense. Because irrespective where you come from, which community you come from, mostly it's the male, like the head of the house, either the father, the son, the husband, who's handling these things, which I don't have an issue with. I have an issue with you women not being participative in it. And I think that lack of participation comes, it could be due to many factors. One could be because of the cultural stereotypes you have. Another could be the lack of financial literacy. The fear of the unknown. I may not be able to understand. मेरे पास time नहीं, कौन समझेगा? Who will take on to it? I think it's all fear of the unknown. At some point, all of us have stepped into it. None of us have been confident. All of us have taken that first step of understanding it. I think women should be participative in it. You may not have the bandwidth to execute it, but at some point you might have to execute it. What tomorrow if you're in a situation with a family, and your partner expires, then who's going to take hold of it? What if you didn't have children? You are expecting your son to take over. If that's the case, you don't have a son, then what? How does it work in that case? So I think women need to know what is going on. What are your assets? What are your investments? Are you a joint holder on anything? Where all is your name a part of it? Are you a second holder? Who are the nominees? What is your inheritance plan if you and your partner, your husband are together? How do you want to do this? Are you all into each other's wills? Do you have the testament already recorded for it? What do you plan to do? Even if you don't have a family, if you're single, and even if you resort to experts, okay, which I do, okay, I have my own CA, I have my own financial planner and stuff like that, you still need to know what you have. It's your money. That's the whole idea of personal finance. You're earning it, what you're doing. See, you need to be aware of it. That is where my whole question is, why you would not take interest in your own
Exactly.
your own asset.
Right.
It's okay if you can't do it. There are people to do it. But then also there has to be participation from the other side. Like how many people in their families. There's a whole mindset to it. In not just in India, how many people talk finances openly at the dinner table or inculcate that kind of ideology or that sense? Largely, if you come from a business background, okay, like the business communities largely like the Marwadis, the Gujaratis. I'm not stereotyping again, but just keeping that you could be from any community, that comes with a business background. Your financial acumen is definitely more stronger than someone who comes from a non-financial background.
Non-business background.
Yes. So, like I had to keeping my example, I had to get financially literate because I didn't have that strong backing. Some basic knowledge, okay, stocks mein invest karo, yes mein karo, but that is not enough for you to grow. Nobody sat down to tell my family, and it's in every family. I don't know who has had that kind of open conversation. This is how you do. This is when you should invest. This is how much you should contribute to the family once you start working. Who talks of all of that? What is your percentage of contribution? What is your percentage? How your household is run? That transparency should be there in a family, which not many families. There are families that do that, but 90% of families don't do it, irrespective of which community you come from. So there is a lot of discomfort around these conversations, and that kind of already in the background of gender stereotyping and cultural stereotyping, you're having this kind of a mindset coming up. It takes generations to like evolve from there. So like we were having this discussion, right? Like even when I was a teenager, I would have my friends, like my Gujarati friends, come and tell me, you could lend money, you could do this, you can earn a certain percentage of interest, or ये होने के बाद भी ना you will be in 1% profit, and all this has gone bonkers over my head. And I'm like, I'm only 17. How is this person talking this language that I'm not aware of?
Yeah.
We've just come back from some language tuitions, but he's telling me already how you can earn money in our setup, being friends and stuff. So that kind of opened my mind, and I was just curious and aware of how you have generations of this attitude towards money that percolates. See, your personal life and your personal lifestyle and your professional lifestyle are not really totally separate. They're not exclusive. They kind of have an effect on each other. So if you come from a business background that is usually looking at ROIs on everything, so I've understood their lifestyle, even from their grocery buying to their shopping kind of behavior is very different. They will tell you, but these things kind of build you up to make those kind of decisions, which doesn't come from a financially literate background. They know where you can get a higher investment on some things, how to roll back money into businesses and stuff. So it comes down from generations and generations of business being done, and it kind of opens up like a huge, it makes a huge difference in your financial growth, your economic growth. But that being said, like I said, there's so much of expansion that has happened, okay, in terms of educating people and women, and these provisions that have been made by the government. Like the NSE released a data just last month where they've spoken of how 100 million unique users have been added, investors have been added to the community. Out of this, 22% are women, 70% are below 40 years of age, and almost in the last 4 years, there have been like 160 million Demat accounts that have been opened. Now just look at this number. 22% out of this 160 is like women. How do you, you can understand the change. Yeah, so the change is happening right before our eyes. Lots of factors are contributing to it. We are getting there. Options are opening up for people, for women especially, to take a call, and you can see these startups coming up and a lot of movements and a lot of financial literacy campaigns that are going around, to just get people to get on board with it.
Absolutely. I think one point that I really want to take away from this conversation is having those discussions in the family, especially of lately, the things that I'm seeing on the investor and the client side of my work. So the conversations are all around equity, mutual fund में डालना है. These conversations not around whether you've got your will in place, whether you've got your insurance correctly, whether the names are correct, addresses are correct. It's just taken for a lot. It's just taken for granted कि चलो ठीक है ये हो गया होगा. Money is coming in. Conversations are only going 2-3 ways. That is why you will also see the numbers that you're talking about, right? 160 million new demat accounts coming up. But are more people adequately insured? Are people taking the right insurance? Those conversations somewhere are still lacking. Don't you think so? That's my reading of the stuff. Maybe I may be wrong.
It is, but at the same time, like I said, the resources are available across. Growth is your responsibility. That nobody is going to get. That's your responsibility. That's the importance of having a financial roadmap, having financial goals set. It keeps you aligned, it keeps you disciplined. Then you start looking at things objectively. You utilize your time more efficiently. Otherwise, if you don't inculcate it, okay, don't adapt that kind of a lifestyle, you will just squander your time, and sooner or later mostly, you will come back to this point where you have to start from this place. So yes, there is a lot of information out there on insurance protection and stuff like that. But like I again said, wherever you have to subscribe to diverse information outlets and sources, and eventually everyone should approach an expert or a professional, a financial professional, for advice. Again, he will advise you or she will advise you. You have to still plan what you want. They are not going to set your goals for you. If you already have a home, if you already have all those assets that take you to the next level, then you need to figure out who you are, what you want to do with your money. Like I said, why you want more money, क्या करना है उसके साथ. So that comes where I insist that you should have a vision for your life. Money is a tool that takes you to where you want to go. Eventually, all your money is connected to your personal desires, correct? If you want a better car, you want a better lifestyle, you want to travel the globe, it's your desires. Money fuels those desires to get to that point.
Absolutely.
So now you have to create that thing, what you want next, and how you direct that money. Because money will come, money will go. Like in the words of the English statesman Francis Bacon, who has said, money is a good servant, but an extremely bad master. If you don't have a goal, you will be constantly like a rat in that wheel, spinning, saying, I have to make more money, I have to make more money, iske liye kharcha ho raha hai, there's been expenses for this. But you have not set a financial plan, you have not set a disciplined method of why you want to achieve that money, what you want to do, what you can do with the existing money that you have. How do you redirect it, how you grow your wealth. When your vision is greater than I, me, myself, it puts you on, okay, chalo, I can do this, I can get to that next level, this is what I have to do. It has to be bigger, because you will achieve a goal, no? It is a time-bound thing. Maybe not now, in the next 10 years you may achieve it. Then what from there? You have to constantly be in that thing of building. So while you have long-term goals, you should have short-term, mid-term goals. This is what I feel. Figure out what you want to do. This is how big the wealthiest people in the world, that is why they are also, some of them are the wealthiest, are the most generous philanthropists also.
Correct.
How much wealth can you hold for yourself at the end of the day? You have to give it at some point. I'm not saying give it, and I'm not even saying live like a frugal lifestyle or minimalistic lifestyle. What I'm saying is that you should have a balanced lifestyle. Of course, reward yourself for all the indulgence that you want, but don't remain in that spot. At the same time, that doesn't mean you will squander off all that you have. That's why people don't, who have, there is that study, right? 90% of lottery winners become paupers and all.
Yeah, in 6 months' time.
Yes.
Correct.
So there is a reason for that. At the same time, you learn to, don't even become a miser. Enjoy what you have earned, the labor of your, the fruit of your labor. Get into that space where you can find a middle balance and go with it.
I think these are very interesting topics. We'll again expand it a bit. What I want to now get on to is a bit more, when we're talking about media right now, we cannot take away the impact of influencers. In fact, there are questions on the group also. What are your thoughts on these upcoming financial influencers, lifestyle influencers? Because now you're also talking about lifestyle, you're also talking about, our conversation has suddenly gone from finance, I mean, source of capital to application of capital, if I have to talk in economics terms. So now you talk about finances, personal finance, and then you also talk about lifestyle. So these things have literally been, this is the rage, if I have to use that word, this is the rage. I was just reading a data somewhere. I think this is must be data, I mean statistics data of the ministry. No, it's the credit ka kahin to data hai, that was highlighted in RBI some couple of a year back, or I think 6 to 8 months back. They said कि 100 रुपए का पूरा अगर लोन का बास्केट है, 43 rupees is going into personal loans. वो 43 में से जो 15 रुपया है, 15 रुपया का जो लोन है, दैट इज गोइंग फॉर वेकेशन स्पेंडिंग. उसका जो आपका एज ग्रुप है, दैट इज 20 to 35 और 20 to 40 जो लोन लेके भी आज घूम रहे हैं. सो what the impact of these financial influencers and lifestyle influencers is not something we can take it lightly anymore. What are your thoughts around it? Are they doing the right job? Do you want, I mean,
Influencers are, let's look at it this way. Social media, influencers, two separate things. At the same time, the way they have helped a larger number of people get engaged, okay? The kind of audience engagement is really high in this. They have simplified complex financial jargons, terms, to a lot of people. A lot of people are open to understanding, but like any influencer, whether you are a financial influencer, whether you're a health influencer, again, the responsibility is yours. You have to check the credentials first. Who are they? Are they certified? Do they have with what authority do they speak? You can't have someone someone who's lost 20 kilos weight just starts a channel saying that, here's my plan, this is how you can, lose weight. But one plan does not fit all, right? Same goes for influencers. You could have so many health issues, you can't just lose weight on one plan. Same way, if someone is telling you invest in this, invest in it, there are so many pointers to keep in mind. First of all is, what is your income generation like? What is your timeline for your, your financial growth? So many aspects. Are there dependents on you, How are you progressing? So how can you just take one person's advice or one person's, you have to use again a diversified platform where you're looking to everyone. That being said, if you look at journalism, like financial journalism and your influencers, journalism now, there is a certain code of journalistic ethics that are used. There's fact checking, there's in-depth, analysis done, market scenarios are discussed. There's a lot more given on that, and it's unbiased. At least largely this is the framework on which it operates. I would say if you're looking to influencers, you apply the same framework there. Are there any vested interests? Are they sponsored content? Are they unbiased? Are they talking of only one product all the time? Are they talking of all products? Where is all this coming from? You apply to that. But again, like today's news media, you know how it is. There are stakeholders even in news media. So there is nothing like an unbiased voice, at least of today. So you have to again filter what is the best from everyone. Direct yourself again to an expert or a professional who can probably give you a clearer picture. The decision is yours at the end of the day.
Was there an unbiased view ever? When we're talking about today, I know you're laughing, you don't want to say it, it's okay.
That's the truth about journalism today, whether it's in India or in the world. The hardcore media houses, they'd have stakeholders. So there will be a certain kind of subtle pressure to talk about some things, not to talk about some things,
But it has to be that way, right? I mean, they also get funded by somebody for
Yes,
all this is too much work.
That's why you consume media like across. Even if it's simply reading the headlines, I don't subscribe to one. I read like 7. I know this is going to be reported differently, or I know this is going to be reported differently, or this is going to be reported. So you have to have that kind of, now that is my responsibility. I want to make the surest decision for myself. उसके बाद भी अगर कुछ चला नहीं, it doesn't work, that is out of my control. That I give that room, that leverage, that leeway for that kind of thing. But at least this much I can. So yes, not all influencers are irresponsible. There were a bunch of them that went that caused this concern, which is why SEBI, like we were discussing, SEBI introduced that rule for influencers last month. There's a certain kind of censorship and a process you have to go through. It's because of safeguarding vulnerable investors' rights and stuff like that. Nothing more to it. So, so when it comes to influencers, they've done like a decent job at some part of it. But like I said, social media should not be your final step. What can a 1-minute reel tell you on how to get healthy or how to get rich? That deep dive you have to do for yourself, understand something, or resort to a professional who will give you more information on it. But that is not their responsibility. That is yours. So that much awareness, I think people should have, irrespective of whatever age you are. Just because someone is saying it on a certain channel doesn't mean they are the final voice.
So isn't it because, back when we started working, the early 2000s, if I may say so, when we started working, it used to be one family uncle who would come and say, कि बच्चा LIC कर लो, ये, and parents will be like, ठीक है, this is where your check is going towards. Then there'll be an FD or some RD, some recurring deposit. What I'm trying to get at is our social world was limited. We only knew a certain set of people. And not just that, I'm from finance background, correct? I am from the CA fraternity, and when I did my articleship also, knowing all these terms, studying all these terms, and yet your money was basically parked in a fixed deposit or an LIC and everything. So those were the times when we didn't know a lot of things. Today is the time when you are at Insta, you are, browsing the web to get your queries sorted. Isn't your social circle suddenly expanded, from few uncles to a lot of people who are doing the right?
Yes, it is like we discussed earlier. All depends on the kind of upbringing you've had, the kind of mindset you have developed in it. All of this matters, the kind of family values you carry. Maybe you come from a traditional, family where it's like, no, ghate ka sauda hai, to put it in your in stock. So even though you have money, you will end up taking
because apparently somebody got bust somewhere.
Yeah. So that's what, lack of awareness, lack of understanding. If you come from a business-backed community, they know these are the risks that you carry along with it, but the returns are also higher. So that risk-taking factor, when you come back from such a financial background, plays a huge difference in your decision-making. You land up being more braver.
So I'll tell you what, I'll just cut you here a bit. I'm sorry. When you're talking risk, okay? When you're talking, so me being a Gujarati or a Kachi Gujarati family, for us, risk means completely different to what risk is being taught in finance. So what risk is being taught in finance is you having the ability to lose an X amount of capital. For us, risk means losing the entire capital. Okay. Now, if you put it that way, we are able to take these speculative bets a lot more. But when these youngsters or when today's generation that come in, they are still not, if they are not business oriented, their risk is still key. I bought a stock at 100. I don't know what the business is doing. Suddenly it came down to 75 in a span of few days or something. Now I exit the stock because this stock might go to zero, right? So for them, this parameter of risk is just fundamentally different from for us. Is for a Gujarat, if you're from a business family, 100 रुपए में लिया 75 पे आया, it means तुम्हारा risk कुछ नहीं है. You need to pump in capital. Okay, that's how we are role, we are thought processes. In that time, what I want to get at is my as the investor side of me. The investor Gujarati side of me feels one very happy when the media reports market lost so much money, ekdam niche gaya hai. I'm telling you, we have cash, we start pumping in. Okay, and the glorification of these news just drives away a lot of the other guys. That's my one of my basic concern with the traditional media, and not just traditional media. Even I'm very sure even the influencers will start flocking out of the system once the market says, okay, enough is enough. You guys have made money. It's time, for the big boys to come in and start making money.
But this is why you need to where professionals come into the picture. This is their forte. This is their, playing field. You and I can pick certain tips, can pick certain knowledge bits of it, make a decision out of it. But there is now, if you're talking of stock markets, the market is a different vibe altogether. Real estate is different, gold is different, stocks are different. Stocks are different. You need to really understand what you're in for. Now, when you say the markets are high, and if you have already been an investor in it, not necessarily your stocks have performed high. Same way, if the markets are low, it is not necessarily your stocks have lost money. See, now these things you need to, the more you read up on it, the more you understand, the more you get that kind. Yes. It depends now. Do you want to trade? The markets are a total different thing. Do you want to stay as an investor? Do you want to stay as a trader? What is your thing? What's your capacity? Again, everything is aligned to your goal. If you want to make a certain amount of money in the next 1 year to put a down payment for your house, maybe your financial advisor will tell you, okay, park this much money into this stocks, park this much money. But they will not be stocks parked for life. He will probably choose a stock that has the potential to hit a certain number, and based on his expertise, he's going to tell you, pull it out now, and you make your profit and get out of it. Okay. Now, these things, it comes up when you know you are in it. You can't just say stocks mein paisa hai, let's put money. That's a very immature thing to do. That's what I said. Growth is your responsibility. You be financially literate. You read up on it. You get yourself some material. Understand these things. Everyone is in this. We want to. That impression is given that you can become rich overnight. No. When it comes to markets, whether mutual funds or stocks or whatever is related to the markets, you have to have that patience, you have to have that discipline to stay, to understand, apart from the risk factor and stuff like that. Have I got?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just amazed, how beautifully you avoided the bigger question.
What was the bigger question? I'm sorry, I must have missed it.
No, it's okay. I was just saying, the media's role into it. Because you glorify the top, you glorify the bottom.
But all this information is because of the kind of media I have consumed, right? Media does play a role. I have read up on several things. I listen to certain people. There are so many podcasts available. There are so many books available. Not every book you will understand. There are some books as beginners. There are some people who, for example, Robert Kiyosaki for Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a good beginner's book, but it's not like a Bible for getting started. That also you can take little bits and pieces. It's not the ultimate thing.
For us, there is only one Bible. For money and life is Warren Buffett. That's it.
Yes, there's Warren Buffett. Then there is, I follow Dave Ramsey, I like his approach. And just generally, like I said, your lifestyle, your faith, most of the kind of my upbringing or my perspective towards this has been based on, because I come from a Christian background, is on biblical values, financially. So there's a whole plan put out on that. how you approach finances. So that governs most of my decisions above this. So there's a certain method, there are certain rules you don't deviate from, and that has kept me in a good place. So I know, not me, just many like me, in a good place. So that governs me. Like for example, giving you one just highlight, to never take bribes or to never be a co-signer for anyone.
Correct.
Now that's explicitly written in the scriptures. So I am like, I literally have to tell people, you know, sometimes when you meet government officer, like when you're dealing with a certain thing where government officers are involved, people end up saying, Madam, aisa hi kaam hota hai, you have to give money for it. And I'm like, you asked me 2 lakhs, I will give you 2 lakhs in white. You asked me 2,000 in black, I'm not giving it to you. Now, this is me because of where I come from. But the same does not apply to the larger majority will say, 2000 mein kaam ho raha hai, why is she giving 2 lakhs for it? But I'm governed by, like I said, my faith, my principle, my values. Each one has their own in that. And I've seen the benefits of it. So media does play a role. Of course it does. Today, if you and I are able to have a podcast and talk about it and expand to all these views, is because of what we have consumed and using it as a tool to get it out there to other people also. Yeah.
Absolutely, I completely agree to you. There are a lot of questions that I feel we can have, but there are a lot of, I mean, questions from my end, but there are a lot of questions that have come on the channel as well.
Oh, please, yeah.
And these guys are eagerly listening to you for the last 40-45 minutes. So let's take their questions as well.
Yeah, please, yeah.
So Lavanya's asked a very simple question. I mean, in your experience, what topics in personal finance interest young investors the most?
Topics. Yeah, I think stock markets and mutual funds are a big high because everyone wants to get rich and wants to get rich quick. Yes. So this obviously gives the highest returns, and people, especially when it comes to youngsters, because they all, like all of us are digitally savvy, they want a quick, easy, time efficient way to deal with it versus sitting and getting, you know, like sitting for hours and hours. So I think mostly young investors want to see how they can make passive income, additional income generation that you have, how to invest what you have. These things drive people. But like I again said, the desire to earn money and the desire to be wealthy are two different things. What you eventually do with that wealth is, if they don't have that perspective, it's going to be a waste of time.
I think they'll take time to get there. And we should also take time to get to that part of the question.
We believe in it. That's why we are here.
I think there's one very interesting question from Siddheshwar. I believe he's asking from his heart. Does media trick people into bad investments?
Yes, I would say if there are stakeholders involved, you know, if a certain media company is owned by certain stakeholders that have huge shares in the market and want those shares to really do well, it's obviously going to be biased coverage where they will promote it in a certain way. But like I said, today, unfortunately, that kind of standard is not there in media, you know, where you can blindly take one particular channel's word for it, or one particular magazine or financial newspaper. You can't, which is why you take a call on it and you consult experts on it. Like for example, for myself, I not only have like financial planner and a CA, I have people in the business fraternity. I have people who are traders, stockbrokers. I listen to everybody. I have businessmen. Everything connects everybody. Like you said, right? What you learn in finance as capital loss and what the Gujarati trader is viewing as capital loss are two different
things.
But given a choice, I would listen to the Gujarati trader. He's on the ground, he's hands-on dealing with it. So you get it, you textbook knowledge versus what is real time being viewed are two different things. So you can, yes, how else will you gain information? You look to it, but keep an open mind Don't hold anything like the holy grail. Consult a lot of people, take a lot of advice, and then take that decision. It's like your health, right? Everyone wants a second opinion. थोड़ी एक बार किसी ने बोला है get a bypass done, you'll go get a bypass done. You will still, for all you know, you will take third and fourth opinion also before that person says get a bypass done. So why would you do that with your money at the end of the day? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hope that answers Siddheshwar's question.
Yes, and hope he does not go for bypass just because somebody said it once. So I think a lot of work has to be done even from the investors' end,
Yeah.
rather than just trying to push some sort of blame.
Yeah, like even though I listen to a lot of people, I'm in touch with a lot of people. At the end of the day, I am making my own decision what suits me and my lifestyle. That particular person telling a certain stock, do you have the money to buy it? Can you invest in it? Have you understood what it's going to take for it to be there? Do you have that kind of time to be invested in? Do you have no other liabilities? There are so many factors to look at. If you just have disposable income, no liabilities, and you just have nothing else to do but just, cash in that money into something, into investing something, then it's totally different. But again, like you need to make an informed decision whether you, irrespective of all these things. Yeah.
Wonderful. The next set of questions is from Meera. What I want to do is let me expand the question a bit. So Meera, if you don't mind, what she's talking about is media romanticizing the idea of financial freedom, right? Why and why not? So let me talk about just not media. There's too much romanticism in terms of financial freedom. The fire, right? I mean, financial independence, retire early. You get retired by 40, you get retired by 45. And then people go through a breakdown because you've always said, you said it in the podcast that you don't know what to do with that money. Talk me through. So we've discussed the what to do after the money, right? But let's discuss the romanticism of the whole thing of getting so financially free. What drives that thing?
So the fact that Meera has identified it as romanticism is the first level of awareness.
Right.
Okay? That she's understood. It's blown over the top and stuff like that. And there's always been, news media has been doing a lot of these things. Like I again said, have a vision for your life. First of all, why you want to retire at 40? And do what? Nothing? What do you want to do at 40? Doing nothing is my point. You as a person have to keep doing something. What is retirement according to you? Like, let me understand that whole aspect. You're looking at financial freedom. Okay, what is financial freedom according to you? Everyone sees financial freedom differently. If you really are looking for someone to give you financial freedom advice, my advice to people would be identify a person who has achieved financial freedom for themselves first and see if you can learn from them or they can teach you how to achieve it. Somebody who's talking about financial freedom and is nowhere close to it, why would you listen to that person? That's your first thing.
Absolutely.
Secondly, like I said, entire value system comes to fore. Why are people thinking of retiring at 40? Are they burnt out at an early age at work? What is it they're looking for? Have they experienced boredom ever in their life? At least once people should experience that boredom factor and understand, can you live through that? Now imagine the next 40 years of your life, you're doing it. Not doing anything, not contributing, not creating, not being in a process. What does it do to you? What do you view your life as? Today, like even my mom, who's a retired housewife right now, she used to work and stuff. The day she retired, I told her, figure out a lifestyle and be busy. Today she's a home chef and stuff like that. You cannot stop doing it. Science also tells you have to engage your senses, you have to engage your mindset, everything. Why are people deteriorating largely in society? There is no final vision to their life, nothing to achieve, nothing to do. Yes, fine. You don't have to be like a workaholic. again, take a balanced view when you're going with something. So you do opt for financial freedom, but what according to you is financial freedom? For me, it is time. Time trumps over money for me. Today, I want that time with my family. I want that time to be time to pursue other things. At the same time, I want to be engaged with my work. I want to do something where I am contributing or bettering things at, right? You've educated yourself for so long. You've built up yourself, as a person. Now you should be in a place where you give. That's what I believe. You come to a point, if you feel you've achieved enough, then you start giving. You give it in any form, either in the form of teaching, either in the form of your time, whatever resources you have. That's what all of us as a society finally get to in a place. So good, you've identified the romanticism in it. Like I said, it's social media. You can't buy it. Everything on social media is not holy grail. None of it is. It is run on algorithms. It is run by one of the big 5 techs in the world. It is not unbiased also. Tomorrow, if you click on one, romanticism means that only, na? Like eventually you click one financial video, now your whole algorithm is skewed to that. But it is not true. There are people talking about other things also. So that's why I said be very wise, be very knowledgeable, be open to read about everything, engage in good productive discussions with your friends, or engage in communities that have that kind of discussions, grow as a person. Be smart about what's going around you. People today, the problem in our society, they don't want to ask why. They can't tam jham karega to see all of this.
Yes.
Nobody wants to ask the hard questions. Nobody wants to be in an uncomfortable place, where they are. They're like, who cares? You're getting it. Why do we need to know what's behind the scenes? So be it. Then one day don't say, where was it?
Very interesting. In today morning, my mom was telling me about some incident she just heard from one of her friend, that somebody was promising, I think, or 24% odd returns a year.
Oh, wow.
Which is unbelievable. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I've got a tendency to now shut down my ears when I listen to it, because I know what's coming next. What's coming next is the money, the guy's disappeared, the money is gone. It's not just that. It's her, so where her daughter is gotten married to that family. So they'd asked that family also to put that money with this fellow at 24%. Even their money is gone. Now the wedding is at a juncture that it might or might not continue because of money, because of finances. Because they heard from somebody that 24%, 36%, whatever you're going to get, and they started thinking in their heads कि हम लोगों को अभी काम करने का ज़रूरत कम है, because capital will give us that kind of money.
Unfortunately, this is such an ill-informed decision. Even you and I know 36% कोई नहीं देता है life में. But
वॉरेन बफेट को भी 20% निकालने के लिए पसीना निकल रहा है वहाँ पे.
But like people who are that's the price you pay for lack of knowledge.
Yes.
That's the price you pay for lack of vision, knowledge, everything. You have to be educated, because now see, these are trusted people. Forget like the influencer scamming you.
Yeah.
If that's a stupidity, that's a stupid thought to think of, but family people. Abhi bhi hota hai. I have a great scheme. Can I meet you? Your money will double and all. It's going on since donkey's years in all the families. And now we've just come to the point where like, no, I will have tea with you. I'm not doing this. I don't care what the money is going to do in 2 years and 6 years. Today we think twice even about banks. Banks are shutting down. Banks are being, taken over and, whatever, like decentralized and whatever, coming under the center and stuff like that. You don't know when what is going to go in one place. You're thinking of that one FD and this person comes and tells you, I have 36% returns. See now again, they're not yet married.
No, they're married.
They're married. Oh, you said the wedding is at a juncture.
So it might or might not continue in terms of the kids are married for the last, I think.
Now I don't know whether it didn't on the point of trust or whether it was point of pressure. If it were me, I would have not given my money.
Yeah.
But now I don't know if it's under pressure. You understood? or it's my mindset. Husband is asking, let's give it, But my wise self would say, no, I don't want to give it. Probably I would have discouraged him also from giving it. But now this is my upbringing. Someone who's come from a subservient background may not have that voice to say it, May not be in a position to even tell a husband this is a wrong decision, though they might know it. So everything is very interconnected and, sad. It's a sad thing because it's money loss at the end of the day. And it's happening with educated people also. I know a lot of people, business people also who've done it. So I don't know how business people make these decisions. Some of them, when they do get into that.
It's very funny because last year I was in the Mandvi district of Kutch, and my wife was shopping, and there was this shop owner. He asked, just as a matter of what do you do? And I said, we are research analysts, we are portfolio managers, equities and all. He said, I've got money for the next 6 months. Can you just put it into options and, make some money? I looked at him. He said, no, there are so many people out here, but you also do that. I said, Bhaiya, you shouldn't be doing this. If the other guys are still coming up with the scheme, you shouldn't be doing it. He's like, oh, okay. But I've already given my 35 lakhs. Right now it is 30 lakhs. But I've got payment after 6 months. So tab tak to 40 ho jayega na. What do you think about the market now? This is a person who is an educated person. This is a person who is supplying to probably a Fab India, to a Myntra, to a Flipkart. He's getting his money, and yet, these are even the businessmen, everybody gets poly to this romanticizing of this financial freedom because they feel if I reach this number quickly, my problems will go away. But like you said, it's the rat on the wheel. The rat feels that one day I reach here. The wheel just keeps spinning faster. And the cheese is still out of sight.
Yeah, but the thing is that, right, like your lack of information, why would you not read up? Even I know today, I may not be an aggressive investor as such, but I have taken the effort to read, that these things don't happen overnight. There are lots of risks that come with it. It's how you place yourself, but doesn't mean if you're a businessman, that you are also wise. You could be foolish also like this. You need to understand how to place your money, what to do. So many dynamics come into the picture. But yeah, I think people should really get educated, read for themselves, make an effort to understand whatever age you are at. It does not matter. Every knowledge empowers you a little more to make a better decision for you and your family. Absolutely. So even if somebody else is giving me that advice, madam, you do this, and how you can do it, and in the next 1 year you can do this. In the background of my setup, I know this is the right decision. Not every decision I have accepted. If I have saved up, say 10 lakhs, and this guy, obviously if I'm consulting a stock broker or a trader or a investment broker, he'll be like, 10 lakhs, I'll tell you how to invest it. But I'm telling him it's my savings of 10 lakhs. I don't want all 10 lakhs to go. But I listen to him. In my head, I want to diversify these 10 lakhs. I want to park maybe 1 lakh over here, 2 lakhs over here. I want to park 2 lakhs somewhere else, even if it's traditional or an FD. My thing is I need liquid income for a certain amount of time before I get into it. And I'm also a very cautious investor. So I will not put 10 lakhs. I will wait for the first 3 months, 6 months. Now this is me as a person. And you choose also someone who vibes with you, right? Who understands. You don't want a financial planner who's going on saying you're making a wrong decision or who's having his way when you go. They have to understand you, your capacity. Obviously, as a journalist, I've been in the bottom of the salary food chain. For the first few years, I was not even in the tax bracket. Give me a break. But I still invested. Because I saw the sense in it, thankfully to some of my family friends who advised. There is a sense of what you want to do. I didn't compromise on the things I wanted, like travel. Of course, that came in a few years later, maybe 3-4 years later. But what are your priorities? You can have a balanced view. I wanted to travel at least once a year. At the same time, I understand चादर कितना फैलानी चाहिए, you know, in all of it. I may not be able to watch movies for 4 weeks or something like that, but I will make some adjustments. You know, I'll invest this money there, I'll save up for this trip. Again, how you plan your trips, which most young people want to do, you have to have a certain acumen for planning trips. You can go to like one of the travel planners and they will bump you up to like lakhs. Or you take the effort of researching, figuring out alternate routes, figuring out what you want to cut. And I have planned all my trips and they've come out like reasonably well, at least enough for me to afford, you know, versus going to a travel planner and stuff. So there are ways, you know, to manage your lifestyle, to manage what you want in life. All of that is there. Yes.
Okay, that's wonderful. We'll take another question. So there's so many. Let me just go through it, guys. I might not be able to take all. Juhi has said that she also wants to be a journalist. Some advice for her, please.
Are you rich enough?
Come on, yeah. This is not right.
I'll no. Okay, jokes apart. The thing is that you have to see the kind of money that a journalist makes. Okay, I like what I do and I'm okay with it. But I have also shifted gears right now. I'm still a freelance journalist and stuff. But the truth is, it is not a well-paying job in India and across. You will understand it. A lot of my journalist peers have all quit to pursue something of their own. The work-life balance is not really great in media. But you have to ask yourself why you want to be a journalist. For me, it was obviously the larger thing. I want to bring the truth out until I understood there is no truth out. I want to change the world, make it better. But I think what I've come to understand is that I love being a storyteller. I like putting news out there. I like breaking complex things, making it easy for the audience, like you said, personal finance. I enjoy that aspect of my job. There is a story in every person, there's a story in every brand. And if you can illustrate it, picture it, bring it out to an audience, it's a win-win for everyone. Who doesn't like a good story? So yes, does she want to know how to become a journalist, or what is her question exactly?
She just wants to, just be a journalist. So what are the advice?
There are different forms of media today. And journalism on the whole is changing. It's becoming very dynamic. Print is sort of like taking a transition to digital largely. There's a lot of, I would suggest, if you want to become a journalist, get into multimedia, learn different formats of journalism. That is, it could be your podcasting, it could be your video, video, television, everything, because a lot of it is changing to the television and the mobile formats.
Right.
Everything is consumed through apps. Today, how many people just look at InShots and they feel they've done with the news of the day? InShots is like, brief, headliney kind of news. That's how it's come down to. Now, if you want to know more about the topic, again, you should read. Like I said, I consume news from different sources. A certain media house will portray in a different light. A certain media house will not report things in a different light. Know why you want to become, what you want to become. Understand it's changing across the world. What it was 5 years ago, what it is today. Every 6 months, AI is changing the way we approach media.
Yeah, I think media is it's one of the sectors that is getting disrupted much faster than the others.
Like today, I'm getting myself upskilled in data analytics. I want to understand how do I use that because it's reaching that stage. You cannot be this vanilla kind of journalist, whatever they portray on TV with like a Kalam Wali Bai type of scene. It's not that. You really have to know how to shoot a bite. You have to understand how you can use the information, translate it into data that can be used. So I look at myself more on those lines. But it's a very it gratifies you to a point, but if money, it's not the best paying job.
Yeah, I agree to it. I think at the start, a lot of these jobs are not that well paying. A lot of not just media, even finance.
But still, like I said, in the food chain in India, World, leave it aside. Okay. If your aim in the next 10 years is to buy a house or to do something like that, I don't think this job is going to let you achieve that dream. It is very difficult.
That's hardcore.
Yeah, it is the truth. I'm not the only one. You can have like people telling you all of that. You need to understand like what. That's why I asked you, are you rich? People who have the comfort of a certain lifestyle can indulge into this because salaries in media houses are really, really, at least in print media, is horrifying. It doesn't commensurate with your experience. It doesn't commensurate with your this. But the exposure is great. You know, I enjoy being a journalist. I like meeting new people. I like understanding. It helps me to understand different realities, truths, bridge some kind of knowledge across. Like I said, you know, it's always empowering me because I know more in every field. And while I've been primarily like a lifestyle journalist, I've also covered business, retail, finance. I enjoy these topics. You know, it deals with each person's life, and it's fascinating because people are involved in it, you know, and
Absolutely.
how they view it, and how it's everything that you do affects society and the world at large. So even you investing, not investing, somewhere in the ecosystem, it has an effect, and it's brilliant to see it like translate.
Yes, I agree. Completely agree. With that, you know, we'll just take a last question and then
Yeah, sure.
I have my one final question. So Chirag's got a very interesting question. I think this question, at least from my end, wins the Cadbury of the day
Okay.
or the CCD coffee of the day for him. Like, can you share some examples of how the portrayal of wealth in media has changed over the years? Now, especially in India. Why this is also important is, of course, you know, Anandbhai Ambani got married, and the media covered every move of Anand. And now, and of course, you know, that is one aspect. A lot of people are thinking. Second aspect, what I want to get at is, a lot of us are getting wealthy because assets are getting higher. We're making more money. We're able to save more money. Probably, you know, it's the impact of after independence, how the third and the fourth generation tends to enjoy the fruits of labor from the first and second generation.
Absolutely.
And so what I think what Chirag is trying to say is the glorification that has been happening. Like everybody is behind this. And of course, you know, that wedding was.
He's asking, is it right or wrong, or he's asking, what exactly is he asking?
So he's just asking, you know, how, I mean, he's just asking what the portrayal of wealth is.
You have to understand what goes into media portrayal. Okay, first of all, it's trending. People will want to look. So the outlet will want to cover it because of the viewership. Okay, which matters to every publication or outlet. More viewership, more ads. That's the business of the journalism, how it works, or business of media. Secondly, it's in trend. You know, he's a trending. It's interconnected to this. Thirdly, the family is one of the most wealthiest
In Asia.
in Asia, and the wealthiest in India. Who would not want to see it or want to this? That being said, now the amount of coverage that they got. Now comes this fourth part, is where the stakeholders come in place. Which outlet were you looking at? Do you know who the stakeholders are there for me? Do you know how media runs behind the scenes? Today, when you have like these paparazzis and stuff like that, you have influencers. They are paid for per post for that kind of publicity by anyone who can afford to pay it. Forget the wealthy. So that's how business runs behind the scenes. Which is why I said news media is no longer like an unbiased thing. There are too many factors that come into place. This is the reality of how business works in media. So you on the other side, when you are consuming it, you get to switch off the channel. You get to change the channel. Don't watch it. Don't view social media on it. But this is how it works. It's a business at the end of the day. It has got very less to do with morality, unfortunately. And it's two ways also. See, I don't have a problem with people using their wealth the way they want to.
I agree. I was just coming to that.
But then now this is my belief. In a country where there's horrendous economic disparity and people are struggling for basics and stuff, while you can enjoy your wealth, the garish display of it, I don't know if it is necessary. I don't know if it is necessary. I know you want to say you are the wealthiest person and how you want to make a statement.
I come from a very different angle here. If he's, see, either there has to be wealth distribution in some form. Either he has to spend by showing off his wealth so that the money starts percolating down, because he can't be hoarding it all, right? So either you tax him to disproportionate levels rather than taxing the middle class.
Can I add something to it? While all of us are looking at it as wealth display, don't forget they are a business family at the end of the day. A lot of it is business transactions. There are future ventures that have been collaborated. It has happened over a span of 6 months or whatever number of months. It is not just spending wealth. They are going to bear the fruits of it in the next few months. You may not know it. Everything is not disclosed. There might be some kind of business ventures that will birth out of this whole affair that has taken place. His presence in a certain place, his family's presence in a certain place can, countries and all make arrangements to meet them and stuff. They have the power to change governments, they have the power to rule things. So, yeah.
We hate wealth so much.
Who hates wealth so much?
The other person displaying it. See, these kind of questions emerge in society only because of this angle, right?
I don't think anyone hates wealth as much as it stems from what you see wealth as, right? If you lack it, I think if someone else is showing it, it's pure envy. If you ask me, I think it's envy. I don't have it, he has it, he's showing it off. Why does he have to show it off? Different things to it again. This is one perspective of it. What I feel is wealth is money takes the color of who you are. Money by itself has no color. It has no attitude. It takes on the attitude and the personality of the person in whose hands it is. That's the first rule.
Correct.
So money is not bad, like I just told you. It's a good servant, it's a bad master. How you direct it, what your attitude to money is. Like for example, if you're a person who doesn't believe in generosity, everything is very calculated. It will be very different, very hard to get money out of your hands and stuff like that. Which means you will very difficult to deal with. It means you don't trust. You don't have a trust factor in you. You're not able to trust people easily. It is not the money that doesn't leave your hand. It's the trust factor that is not in you. If you have to show that you are the richest person or this is who your social status is, then you will live a lifestyle that depicts it in all manner.
So that was just hidden because the access to capital, or you didn't have money?
It will show up in any form if that is your personality, which means even if you had 10 lakhs, it will show up. If you had 10 crores also, it will show up. It is who you are. It's just all these things come together. But there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. See, like I said, your money, how you do it, your life, you're responsible for it. That's great. I just feel there's a larger, like a moral conscience that everyone needs to imbibe at a point. Someone's having so much, I don't know, it feels very uncomfortable to, walk. Not to say that they haven't done, probably they have done charity. We all assume rich people, the charity, whatever, But charity is not supposed to be shown either way. So even if they've done charity, you would never know about it. But how they choose to display their wealth, now that's their belief. That has got nothing to do with me. I can only switch and change the channel and ignore it. Yes. But the fact that channels are showing it is because people are seeing it. It's a two-way thing.
So in some way it is said.
I may not, you and I may not be those viewers, but there is a considerable voyeurism. This is the reason Big Boss runs in this country. Voyeurism is like a horrible habit of people, so yeah.
it's the way it is.
Yeah.
This is the way it is. So, to conclude, I just want to ask one last question. What is Irene Fernandez's larger vision of life, which is beyond money? Because you've spoken about it.
So I feel you have to have a vision for life, and it has to be larger than you and yourself, because at a point you will achieve your goals. But like I said, money is a tool to lead a certain kind of lifestyle. Why I want to achieve what I want to achieve. Yes, I want to be wealthy. Yes, I want to be a billionaire. But why I want to be a billionaire is a question. Because ghar to mil jayega, I'll tick all the boxes. Then what do I do with that money? So there comes a point where I, obviously through my belief system and all, I see things around me. I'm affected, and I want to be in a place. I definitely want to do something for senior citizens. We are at that stage in India where, like, third, fourth generation, most of our siblings are abroad, or even the generation before us.
Yes.
A lot of people in the next 10 years, we will be the third country with the largest amount of geriatric population in the world.
And yet we are only concerned about the young population.
Yes, it's because we are just a very populous country. We are all getting there. I see a lot of senior citizens not being taken care of within the family or even outside. I hear of parents, loneliness is a big thing. For me, that's a very, it's close to my heart. Like, I wish something can be done. It's something very similar to what that person who started Goodfellows, I cannot get his name right now, for Tatas. So
I think Sid or
something very similar to those lines, but in that aspect. I see medical care rising, and it's absolute unfairness. I would some point probably want to have schools and hospitals started, affordable for everyone, access to everyone. Why should it be only to some? Not make it a business model. That's where your wealth comes into play, right? Where you can
you just make the business model to run operationally.
yeah. And even if probably in my lifetime, if I don't get to do it, at least I have to be in a certain position where I'm able to, even if I want to buy land, acquire property, for all these things, I want to be in a position to pump that much capital at least. So even if it's someone else's dream, I should be in a position to put in that much money or put in some amount for them to achieve that thing. For me, that's the big picture of my life. Give in some form. We all are going to go. Houses are going to remain. Whoever has to come is going to live in it and go. उससे ज़्यादा और क्या चाहिए? Have you managed 2 houses of your own? It's a task. The outgoings, the everything. It's as in today's day and age, asset management is huge. And that kind of time and your personal life and your goals, your professional goals. So you need to really, really be focused, which means cutting out a lot of distraction, lot of clutter, empowering women is another thing that's been close to me. A lot of people, I had to fight for my financial literacy. I had to do a lot of things for myself. So I want people to understand it's easy to get there. It's okay to get there. It's okay to have a voice.
I think it's also okay to make a mistake along.
Yes, why not? Why not? It's like someone, I had been to a conference, someone said when, while developing, it was the role of AI in media, one of the conferences I had attended. And there was this person who was telling us, when AI makes a mistake, we don't land up saying you've made a mistake. We say the AI is learning. Okay. And I was like, wow, that should be the next thing. This person is learning. It's okay to make a mistake. You're learning. You'll get better. You'll be better off in this place and all. Yeah, so these are core things. Now, these are visions. These are goals that are bigger than me, because I know it has to be that way for you to progress, for you to get to a place. Well, other things, but this is based on my lifestyle, my, what makes me as a person, what's my personality. Everyone's personality is different. They may not want to do this. They may want to create probably a very, someone like an Elon Musk, having like some dreams to have faster transport in the city. Please do it. We just need a smart brain to tell us how to get within what we have across the city. Figure out that thing.
So our listeners from Bombay and Bangalore are really happy by listening to this.
Oh, I'm glad.
You want to get to one place quick.
Yes, yes. And efficient, you know. I don't know. I think the generation next after us is going to have those crazy solutions. Excited.
Super, super. I think, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I've had a good time discussing.
You've given us such a lovely insight into the way you think. We've gone beyond media, we've gone beyond numbers, we've gone beyond uh, money, and your wonderful part where you said your vision. I think your vision is what aligns. I firmly believe in the fact that if you just say out your vision out loud, or you might not even say it, okay, no, saying is all right, but if you just feel your vision very strongly, the world aligns its ways to you.
Yes.
I really take this opportunity and wish that the world aligns its ways to you faster. We need more billionaires, people like you, making more money and then redistributing that money on a more efficient basis. So with that, thank you so much
Thank you
for
so
coming
much.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.